Before we kick off the review, I need to explain how this video will work. This review will be split into multiple parts. One will be for the traditional mode, where the players are placed in the same vehicle with the objective of collecting the most star pieces. 2 will be Bowser Party, where some players are placed in a vehicle and the objective is to outrun another player who is controlling Bowser. 3 will be covering Amiibo Party, where the players are controlled separately and the objective is to have more stars after a certain number of turns. 4 will be the game overall. This is where things like the menus, minigames, and controls will be reviewed. Now that I've explained how the video will be split up, let's start the review. It can be complex. You're not given items like in the previous Mario Party games, but throughout the board you're given different dice types, which carry different properties like adjusting the available numbers and the speed of which the numbers change. There's not much of a chance to be bored. Your turn doesn't last terribly long, but that goes for everyone else as well. If someone's turn lasts longer than a few seconds, it's because of something that will involve you, like a minigame. Minigames are a rarity. You only play a minigame if you land on a minigame space. This means that, if luck would have it, you can play an entire board without any minigames. In fact, my family's first round only had 1 or 2 minigames at all. Even at the luckiest times, you won't have very many minigames. It's very luck-based. In my most recent game, I won almost every minigame that came our way, but I was in last place for the majority of the game. There are several board events that can subtract star pieces from you, and I was hitting most of them. It doesn't feel satisfying to win. In older Mario Party games, you chose how many turns each player would have before the game ended. Towards the end, you would be warned that time was almost up. In Mario Party 10, you still have that warning, but it means so much less. In previous games in the series, not counting 9, you could take that warning as, I need to really try hard in the next minigame. But in Mario Party 10, it's more like, well, if another minigame shows up, I'll try hard, I guess. If you win, it feels lucky, despite the little bit of strategy I mentioned earlier. This mode isn't terrible, but it's nowhere near as good as even the worst traditional Mario Party game. It's terrifying. If you're in the group that's in the car, you're trying to get to the end of the level without being killed by Bowser. If you're Bowser, your goal is to kill the other players. Either way you play, you're always hoping for a huge roll of the dice, while hoping that the other gets a super low roll. And Bowser is also huge, which makes it even more scary. Minigames are decently fair. Whoever is playing as Bowser actually does need to try pretty hard to actually win minigames, which was rather unexpected. It's not terribly luck-based. There are certain parts of the board that Bowser has some control over, but it's all pretty non-life-threatening. There are a couple of boss battles. The car players need to roll high enough numbers to kill an enemy, but you'll usually clear that in just a couple of turns. There is at least one minigame that requires Bowser to take deep breaths. This might seem oddly specific and in the wrong category, but this needs to be said. If you have trouble breathing, take caution if you're going to be playing as Bowser. I have gotten this minigame almost every time I play as Bowser. I don't have much trouble breathing deeply, but by the end of the minigame, even I feel a little lightheaded. This seems like such a strange thing for Nintendo to include after dealing with another issue with Mario Party 1's control stick spinning. The game is very much in Bowser's favor. Out of every game of this my family has played, Bowser has only lost once. Computer players are honestly pretty bad, even at the hardest difficulty. Minigames, while not terribly easy for Bowser, happen so frequently that if you just keep chipping off a few hearts, you'll still end up winning most of the time. This mode is what Mario Party 10 is all about. It's the gimmick of the game, and it's a pretty good gimmick. Bowser Party is the most fun you'll have with Mario Party 10, and it's honestly quite a bit of fun. Not every player needs an amiibo. While you don't get the full experience, you can play the whole mode with up to 4 players with just a single compatible amiibo. It's traditional Mario Party. Every player is separated, everyone takes their turn and then plays a minigame. You collect coins, you spend 20 coins on stars, it's all there. Everything you loved about the first 8 Mario Party games. Well, most of what you loved about the first 8 Mario Party games. Every board is a square. There are a small handful of different boards, each being themed off of a character. Each board has a couple of themed events. The only problem with the boards is the fact that each one of them is about 25 spaces and one big square. This means that stars only spawn about 5 to 10 spaces away. There is a paywall. If you want to play this mode, you will need a minimum of 1 Mario Party compatible amiibo. Amiibo figures that will work include Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Wario, Rosalina, and Donkey Kong. You will need an amiibo of the character that a player will be playing as. The character selection is limited. You're only given access to the characters that have amiibo figures released, which would make sense, but you don't actually need the amiibo of the character you want to play as. You only need a single Mario Party compatible amiibo, which means the amiibo paywall is meaningless. You only need a single amiibo to play the game, and they include a Mario amiibo with some additions of the game, so why even require amiibo at all? Using an amiibo is a pain. Sometimes the game will want you to press the A button to confirm something, but sometimes the game will want you to tap your amiibo to the gamepad. Firstly, this is annoying. Most of these actions I could just press the A button, but they want me to tap the amiibo. Secondly, this is stupid. The game clearly wants every player to use an amiibo, but that means you have to pass around the Wii U gamepad or sit on a relatively small couch with a table in front of it that you put the Wii U gamepad on. Either way, this is going to annoy you. This mode could have been awesome, but it was completely ruined by tacked-on amiibo support. I own the amiibo required to play this game, and I would have loved this mode if it didn't require the amiibo. The minigames are pretty enjoyable. While luck-based minigames have always existed in the Mario Party series, there aren't too many of them in Mario Party 10. You've got a few, but most of the time you're playing a minigame that requires you to legitimately best your opponent through skill. There are a few extra games. These games are nothing more than a minor distraction, but it's nice to see a little bit of content that no one was really expecting. It looks nice. Everything from the character models to the menu designs look very visually appealing. The game is also very colorful most of the time. All minigames are unlocked immediately. This means that you don't have to actually play any of the modes if you just want the game for the minigames. The character selection is pitiful. You have just 12 characters. This doesn't sound all that low, but almost every single one of those characters is basic and expected. The only characters that you might not expect is Rosalina, Toadette, and Spike. And at this point, I would start expecting Rosalina to appear in every Mario spin-off. The music is forgettable. I honestly only remember the theme song to this game, and I don't like the theme song. It's just the only song that plays frequently enough that I remember it. The instruction screen for minigames is pathetic. If you look at literally any previous Mario Party game's minigame instruction screen, you'll find clear instructions. In Mario Party 10, they show you how to hold your Wii Remote, a video clip of the minigame with basic controls shown briefly, and 1 or 2 sentences explaining what you need to do to win the game. It's very easy to miss the controls because you are looking at another key detail about how to play the minigame. There is no online multiplayer. I get why you might not want to allow strangers to play together, but allowing friends to play together wouldn't hurt. The game was designed for Wii Remotes only. Everyone in this game is required to use a Wii Remote. There isn't an option for Pro Controllers, there's no option for the Wii U gamepad, outside of playing as Bowser in Bowser Party. If you never owned a Wii and have no Wii Remotes, you're out of luck. You need a controller from a system that's almost 10 years old. I get that a Wii Remote should be a supported controller, but they could have also designed the game to support the gamepad or Pro Controller. The menus are hard to navigate. They could be worse, but it's still hard to find some stuff. For instance, if you want to go to Free Play, where you can play any minigame you want, you'd think you need to go to Toad's Playroom, but you actually need to go to Basic Party Mode and go all the way right to get there. I went into this game knowing the problems. My family played around and we knew we didn't like it. It's such a shame too. I really truly wanted to enjoy Mario Party 10, but there's just too much wrong with it. If you enjoy this game, good for you. But I'm gonna have to agree with the critics on this one.